you've had, many people that you've helped kind of train up and work closely with. And Jackie was always different from the beginning. But how do you think that, the efforts you put in has helped as well?
I've had a lot of young people over the years, and I tell people, I'm going to hire you and I'll create an opportunity, but you have to run through the hole that I create on the field.
I've just always been the person who, I'm not the smartest person, but I will work and work and work and work and work. There's no shortcut. There's no hack.
It is a thankless job that gets you to an ownership position.
Welcome back to the CBIA BizCast powered by Google. I'm Amanda Marlowe. I'm excited today to be joined by two incredible women in the construction industry who are really have grown their careers, and they're going to share a little bit about themselves, their company, but also their unique relationship as mentors and mentees. So we have Jacqueline Laramee, the President of NDC Commercial Construction, and Melissa Sheffy, the Network Interiors President and Network Framing owner. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I know you guys have a long history together, and we're going to get into that a little bit, but Melissa, why don't you kind of just start off by telling us a little bit about the companies and how they started?
So about 34 years ago, I started Network Interiors. We are a commercial metal framing and drywall company, subcontractor. I started as a woman-owned, so I'm a 100% owner. And over the years, we developed a need, or we saw a need for diversifying, because during the 2008 through 12 economic downturn, we were trying to keep our carpenters busy. Everyone is on payroll and background checked, e-verified, and so they're paid very similar to the Carpenters Union, although we are non-union. And so we were trying hard to keep our employees employed. So we started doing some additional trades and finishes, which was, we started Network Design and Construction as a division of Network Interiors, and it ended up growing. And as the economy turned around and got better, it branched off on its own as NDC Commercial Construction in 2016. In 2018, we saw another need where we don't have enough structural framers, and nobody does. The workforce development is necessary because people are aging out of the industry and retiring. And so we opened a manufacturer, which is Network Framing Solutions. And so we're rolling our own metal studs specifically to be prefabricated in our shop and assembled on construction sites. And at this time that I opened that business, the third one in 2018, I approached Jackie, who had been with me since the very beginning of our GC division of Network Interiors. She started with me in college, but I approached her to see if she would be interested in buying in. And so she is now a majority owner of NDC Commercial Construction.
So Jackie, for you, was construction something that you had always maybe thought you'd go into? Bring me back to when you first kind of got that light bulb.
So Melissa and I met when I was in high school, and we were both on our local YMCA board. And I originally thought I was going to go to school to be an accountant. And I had an uncle who was an accountant, and I was like, oh, he's successful, so I'll just do what he does. And but through these board meetings, we actually got to oversee a construction project happening at our local Y. So they were putting an addition on and building a new building. And, I'd ask questions at the meetings, and Melissa's like, you can do this as a job. And I was like, no, I didn't know that I could do this as a job. And
did you know that that's what she did? Or
no.
You just knew her as, a board member?
I just knew her as a board member. Yeah. I went to school with her kids. I was a few years older than them. And so we were just in meetings. We would talk beforehand. She would just ask me where I think I'm going to school and what I want to do. And so then I decided to switch my major to construction management, and I went and I met with the head of the program. Just said, I want a job that I could work with people. I want a job that I could do anywhere. And I want a job that I can learn something new every day. Those are the three things I want from my career. And I said, will construction management do that? He said, yes. I said, great, sign me up. And then I'm in class and I realized, man, I don't know anything about construction. So then I go back to the Y and I asked them if I could volunteer on their property committee. And they're like, sure, nobody wants to be on property. So yes, I'm reunited with Melissa. I ask her for a job. She gives me a job. And I started in the field and got to work on a really cool project that still very connected to today. It was a nursing program was moving over to the Anthem campus in North Haven. And I have two friends who were in the class. It was the first class to use that program. And my mom worked at that building too. And so there'd be times I'd be throwing sheetrock away at the dumpster and she'd be walking like with her colleagues and she would stop them and be like, hey, that's my daughter. So it was like, you couldn't like miss me because I was the only one. So it was just one of those funny things where, I don't know, it was just kind of like the universe was like, setting me up. It was a very cool thing. And then I started asking people on site what they did and why they liked their job. And then I went and I met with Melissa and I said, I really want to be a superintendent. And she was saying how she was starting a general contracting division of the company. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. Now I never have to leave because I could just be a super here. And so, yeah.
It all kind of aligned.
Yep. Yeah.
When you started to, obviously you were a woman in this industry, very male dominated. What was it like kind of seeing Jackie, her eyes kind of perk up in those meetings talking about the construction? Like what made you say, maybe this might be a good fit for her?
I've had a lot of young people over the years and I tell people, I'm going to hire you and I'll create an opportunity, but you have to run through the hole that I create on the field. I'm a sports person. So, I'll block for you, but you got to run through it. And so I'm very blessed just to, we have a lot of great young people today that we are talking about succession planning and basically, bringing along. And I'm very proud of that because we have a lot of great young people. But back then, we've had people, she was just different. When we would talk at the board meetings, one thing that always sticks in my mind, everyone's talking about where their kids are going to college and the whole thing. And I said, where are you going to go? And she names off all these impressive places that she was accepted. And I said, where are you going to choose? And she said, CCSU, because they have a great program. And it doesn't matter where I graduate from because my college isn't going to make me successful. I will make me successful. And that stuck with me. Because I was like, this one is different. And so, put her in the field and, the guys we have a great crew of people and they were all very willing to learn to teach her. And when we put her in the field, she started asking questions. They were all teaching her how to be a carpenter. She couldn't get her hard hat put together the first day.
That story. Yes.
And so they were teaching her and then they would call and say, she wants to go to a meeting, a subcontractor meeting. And I'm like, let her. And so then she would be like, she's asking a lot of questions. And I said, answer the questions. And so that's kind of how it happened. And so she was unique, but she's not the only person I've given opportunities to. She's the one that at that time that really became a sponge. And I found like, we really have to keep giving her information. And in fact, in 2009, we didn't have any work for her. So we put her in a conference room and said, here's a set of drawings, here's a spec book, which, are very thick. Just read it. And so we were like, well, now I'll keep her busy for like 2 days. Well, she loved it. She kept coming out saying, do you understand how amazing this is? This is like the whole manual on how to build a building. Again, made her unique. Other people would have quit.
Were you ever intimidated?
Sure. I think we're all intimidated when we're in a new environment. So, but I don't know. It was like, I had to do it. So there is no not doing it and not figuring it out. So I know I'm really lucky because I get to work with some of the most amazing, talented people. And so I'm intimidated by that. I'm intimidated by, what they know and how long they've been doing it. And, but I just love learning from them. And I think that that's what keeps life interesting is we get to learn every day if we want to. And you always want to try to surround yourself with people who know more than you do because it's only going to make you a better person. And, you hope that you could bring something to the table and teach them too. So I'm really lucky I get to be surrounded by really great, smart, talented people all day.
What can you guys kind of take me back to when you had first started with the company, how did you look to Melissa? How did you, reach out to her and kind of vice versa to really create this? I know you guys had a relationship going in, right? You were, from the working on the board. But how did you continue to use that, right? I assume you didn't see her every day if you were out at sites.
So this is it's a it's a weird story that probably can't be replicated just because I happened to be coming into the industry at a time where we were in an economic downturn. So, but Melissa was committed to letting me work there. So when she was going to job sites and I was working in the office, she would tell me just to get in the truck and go with her. And, the relationship that we have within our company, it's different in the fact that there is a lot of family there, but they've also become like my family. So at the time when I first started working for Melissa, I actually was working 4 jobs and going to school full time because I didn't have a place to live. And so then someone on the job site heard that I didn't have a place to live and they invited me to go live with them. And at first I didn't say yes. It took me a while to be like, oh yeah, I actually need help. So I ended up being essentially adopted by this other family. But they all just kind of took me in and helped raise me, and Melissa helped raise me. And we spent a lot of time driving to job sites, just bonding and being there, for each other and the things that I was going through and the things that I think that gave her a different perspective of what her kids might be going through. And so it was, I don't know, the universe just put us together and it was a really cool thing. So,
yeah. And kind of, as you alluded to, you've had, many people that you've helped kind of train up and work closely with. And Jackie was always different from the beginning, but how do you think that, the efforts you put in has helped as well?
I just create the openings, honestly. Like I said, I am very invested in my employees. Sometimes maybe a little too much. I have a mom, boss. I mean, I try and keep the lines separate, which I do, but treating people with professional respect, but also how I would want my own children to be treated in the workforce and how I would want my husband's to be cared for safely on a job site. So I come from things differently than maybe other typical bosses or contractors. I don't know, but it works for us. And so, it's just, we have Jackie's leading the charge of our dynamic young people. She was the first to really kind of break the mold, and everything we gave her to do that we thought she was going to hate, she ended up loving, and she became this positive person. And she really paved the way for the other young people that we have now that are really amazing.
How do you create that environment, right? I mean, you have to have the right people, but there are things that you do to be able to create an environment where people can ask questions, where people can know that it's okay to talk to their supervisor. What do you think are some of the key elements of that? I mean, this is for both of you.
You can answer that first.
Melissa's better at it than I am. I'm more introverted, and I do want to hear what people have to say, and I am interested in give people a lot of freedom to just tell me what they think is going right, and definitely tell me what they think is going wrong, because if we don't know it's wrong, we can't fix it. And so I don't want people just yeah, everything's perfect, and then everyone's miserable. And so luckily, people do trust us to come to us and say, hey, I'm observing this doesn't make sense to me, but it did start with Melissa, who's always engaged people at every level, at every time, at every phase of the company's growth to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you not think this is a good idea? And so she just takes everyone's feedback and then, molds it into the direction of where we're going. And so, and I think that's unique too, where she's not just coming in and saying, this is my idea, this is what we're doing, and not asking questions. So there's always questions to be asked.
Well, so for me, I this is a longer story, like Jackie was just saying, where she was in her life. I come from a very small town in Pennsylvania. And so I was raised very connected to the community. And so when I started my company, I was actually married at the time to my late husband. And 8 years in, he passed away of throat cancer. So I was able to spend time with him. And we always started as a family operation type of thing. And so we cared about people. I literally spent time on the phone our first couple of months begging people for work to give us a chance. It was in 1991. It was a tough economy. And so I believe in relationships. And so I have done every job. I started the company. And so things matter to me. So I want to know how we're improving. I'm not the person, and probably sometimes I'm good at it, but sometimes I'm not, of saying like, yay, you graduated 8th grade. That's awesome. Like, you're supposed to graduate 8th grade, right? So like, what can we do better? Like, how can we improve? How can we be different? How can we be better? And our employees matter. Like, and so I let people divulge as much or as little as they want to me, but they all matter to me. And so I know everybody's wives and families and, and kids. And I love that connectivity, because we're building buildings, but we're building relationships. And so people matter to me. And I think that's different. I mean, I was told years ago by one of my competition, who's no longer in business. One time we were out somewhere and he was like, you can't wear lipstick and work boots at the same time. And I said, why? I can, and I do. And I'm still here and they're not. So it doesn't have to be all the same. It's, when I entered construction, there were not a whole lot of women. And it's different than it is now. There still are not enough women as far as I'm concerned, but it's become a lot more professional.
Yeah, there's not as much of that. Yes, when you might look around on a job site, there's more men. But like Jackie said, which kind of surprised me, when she started, everyone was willing to help her.
Well, that's network though, too. I mean, we have a really great, amazing team. And a lot of family people, and a lot of, people looked at her like, they were her daughter, whole thing. So that's something I'm really proud of about network, is it's people matter, and they all know they matter, and we're a team. And I keep telling everyone we're spokes in a wheel, right? I can do my part, but then I hire professionals to do their part. And so the team camaraderie is important.
And I imagine too that the fact that people were so good to me early on probably stemmed from like Network's reputation and Melissa's reputation. So I think a lot of people believe that Melissa wouldn't have put me in that situation unless she believed in me. So they, by proxy, took more of an interest in what I was doing. And but I've been very lucky in how many people, not even just in Network, but in our customers in the industry, who have, just talked to me. Asked me what I'm doing, where I'm going, why I'm here, and shared their story with me and explained how they got to where they are. And, so I just take all that in and learn from it. So I've been very lucky.
But I just want to interject and say that while she has been lucky, she has also put in the hard work. So I don't know how much of that is luck. People say all the time, well, you're lucky you have Jackie, and you're lucky you have Melissa. But there's a lot of hard work that goes involved in that. So I don't want to minimize the fact that they're until 11 o'clock at night, working the graveyard shift from 11 to 7. It is a thankless job that gets you to an ownership position.
Yeah, no, I think that it's probably something we take for granted because we have so much fun when we're working. And so it never really feels like work, even when we do work a lot. And so there are times where it'll be a Saturday morning and, we maybe haven't caught up through the week. And so Saturday morning, we're on the phone, we're going through, hey, did you hear what happened on this job, this job, this job? And, and her husband says all the time, and he knows me really well. He's like, you two are the only people I know that can literally talk about work all day, every day, and never get bored. And like, it just keeps on going. And so we just, it's work, but it never really feels like work because we just love what we do.
How do you guys get through the difficult times? I mean, have there been times where maybe you were thinking one thing, you were different, or are you guys always in step?
Okay, so that's a great question. I'm just going to say that there have been times where we are kind of like morphing into very similar people because we spend so much time together. But I have been told at different times I can be very abrupt. I'm serious about what we do, but I also like to laugh a lot. But my laughter doesn't mean that I'm not intelligent. And I think some people think that if women, aren't bitchy and serious all the time, that they're not smart. But I like to balance that. But there are times where Jackie has become almost my interpreter. We'll be in meetings and I'll say something and I don't mean anything by it, but it's just very direct. And she'll say, what I think Melissa's trying to say is, and so it's become very convenient for me. So I was like, how about you attend this meeting? So I've been pulling her to meetings more and more.
This one might get a little dicey. Let's just bring Jackie.
Well, and I think sometimes it's easier for younger people, right? We have a lot of great younger people that maybe like most companies have 5 generations.
Yeah.
Right. It's difficult. Like each generation does things differently. So sometimes it's not even a difficult conversation. It's more just like, maybe you could help me explain this better. And so it's become very helpful. For me, maybe not for her.
Well, no, it's great for me because we are always on the same page. And so we're very lucky in the fact that, we could be both approaching the same situation without having talked to each other. She's coming at it from her way, I'm coming at it from my way, but we both have the same expectation of the output. And so again, there's some luck with that. And the fact that we are so similar and our values are very much aligned in how we care about people and what we want from the companies and the people who work from the company or work with the company. That's important to us. And so we have a different path to get there, but the end game is the same.
So to that point, though, when Jackie was learning for years, she would come to me with suggestions and how she would handle something. And another reason why Jackie became the front runner is because she would come with her suggestions and I would say, well, I think you should choose option 3 because of this. And it was like a true like mentor-mentee situation. But I trusted her. Over the years of her coming, she always had my and the company's best interest. Her level of honesty and integrity is very similar to mine. So if people are mentor-mentee, you really need to kind of test the waters to make sure that you're both aligned. So we just didn't get to be on the same page. It's been 16 years of her showing me and then like kind of surpassing me in different ways. So that's been a cool thing to watch too.
Yeah, there's something about, being the teacher and the student and kind of also those roles reversing a little bit.
Sign of a good teacher is that the student surpasses the teacher, and that's what's happening here, and that's exciting. And I really see, Network Next Gen, we talk about it all the time. We have great succession planning going on, and I think that, it's going to be great. It's exciting. It's not something I'm intimidated by. It's something I've worked very hard for.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? I know for so many people, especially when you have so many generations, succession planning is so important. How did you identify Jackie early on? What about other people?
Oh, we were talking about this in the car on the way here. We kind of try and choose the people who we think are a right fit for the culture. And then we work it that way. I mean, we can't always do that, but that's how we've had our best hires and our best team is really kind of picking out the person and then just saying, hey, when you're, ready or you want to have a conversation like that. And so for her, like I said, it was more just everything I gave her. She just sailed over the hurdles and wanted to learn more and, listen to what I was saying. And she would come with her own opinions and we would talk about it. And so it's exciting because with all the young people we have that are so dynamic in our field, in our office and everything, she can help guide that. Like she's brought a lot of systems and processes to our office. She's laughing because in the beginning I was like, are you kidding me? We have to do a workflow to get from A to B because I'm a baby boomer. And I am a convert. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Yes. It makes a big difference and it helps with all the generations. Everyone can see the path. So I'm not too big to admit that it works.
It's just one of those funny things because it's like I've been doing that since I first started in the office because I would bounce between the field and the office and I didn't want to forget what I had already learned and bother people. So they're still templates that I created my first summer that we use, but it also became a pathway for other people to go into those same roles. And so I think that's one of the things with businesses that, allows people to be successful is if you're creating the path for people to follow you, it just, you're not to be scared that someone's going to rise above you. Well, then you can then do better, like learn more. But no, you create the path. You want to create a strong team because you want everyone to be successful, because then the project is successful, the company is successful, I don't think success is just one person. It's everyone finding success and everyone coming together. And I think that starts with systems and processes and people knowing like where we're going and how to get there.
How do you work to like kind of inspire the next generation? I mean, it's tough right now, hiring people, getting people to stay. How has your experience that you've had helped you now shape the next generation? Because now, how you looked like to Melissa, so many people are looking to you.
Well, I am having to step outside my comfort zone and open up more about things. I'm someone who could just not speak all day, and not because I don't want to talk to people, but that's just like my natural space, is just to like get things done. And but when people stop me, I've gotten much better about having the conversation, being open, bringing my experience to it, and being honest about the things that have happened in life, and how I got to where I am. There's a long time that I'd never talked about any of those things, and so I think that it's helping people understand that the path is not straight, for anybody, whether it's like in life or career. There's a lot of twists and turns, and you kind of have to be prepared to ride the wave and just put the time in, because we've been doing this for almost 2 decades. I've known Melissa for half of my life. And when I met her, I didn't know that I was meeting my future boss, my future business partner, my future best friend. Like, I didn't know any of those things. I didn't know that I was going to end up in working for a company where I'd also find a family. Like, I didn't know that. So I think that with people, as we go into these different opportunities, with whether it's a job out of college or it's a job, you're making a life change or whatever, it's just being open and honest about, where the path that we've all taken to get here, because it's not going to be the same for everyone, and you just need time. So,
do you sometimes open up a little bit more to younger employees about your experiences?
Yes, well, so Melissa, she's laughing because when I first started working for Melissa, she would try to give me a hug, and I'd be like, touching me. And now I'm like, just hug it out. Let's just come in.
Yeah, she actually said to me last week, I was very upset. And she's like, I feel like you need a hug. And I'm like, oh, success. She's actually becoming more emotionally intelligent, physically connected. That's awesome.
I've converted her to systems and processes.
Yes.
She's converted me into being a hugger and being open. And so we've definitely bring those different styles and aspects of our personalities. And so I don't know if any of that's inspirational, back to your original question, but I think that's just kind of what's happened.
Right.
So
there's many parts of our evolution.
Yes.
We like to kind of close out the podcast. I think you've given lots of advice, both of you. But I think specifically for people, I think your relationship is so unique, right? I think there's obviously you both put a lot of time and effort in, but not to say it doesn't happen in other places. But what advice do you have for people who are kind of maybe seeking something similar to what you have, and have started maybe a relationship with someone within their company, and they're just nervous to kind of, keep it going?
I would say from my perspective, don't be afraid. Have open and honest conversations. Understand where you may be in your emotional intelligence journey, and that maybe an older person is giving you some advice that you just chronologically, maturity-wise, need to be open to, because there's nothing. Sometimes things just come with age and that development. And then it's important to note, while you're not being afraid and you're having open conversations, that people may disappoint you, and that's okay. You may have trusted somebody in a mentor or mentee relationship, and it hasn't worked out, and that's okay.
And I think for me, it's just, you got to put the work in. Like, you can't replace the hard work and the time in. And, you know, my friends and I, like where we are in our lives, we've looked at the different paths that we've taken. And I've just always been the person who, I'm not the smartest person, but I will work and work and work and work and work. And that is where I have gotten to where I am. And I think that you just can't, there's no shortcut, there's no hack, there's no, so you can't replace that. And I think that you just have to be willing to learn everything, do the uncomfortable jobs, like the night jobs, the hard jobs that people don't want to do, and take it really seriously, and own it, own the responsibility. Even if you don't have the title, own it like you are the ultimate responsible party, regardless of what level you're at in the company.
So let me ask you, how much accounting are you doing these days?
Actually, I do a lot of accounting, which is really funny. I spend a lot of time in our numbers and making decisions based on our numbers.
But you're glad that wasn't your path.
No, it's funny. I started taking accounting classes when I was still in high school, and I kept falling asleep in class, and I was just like, I'm going to get fired. I'll never survive this if I can't do this here. And this is like the most basic level of accounting. But when I can tie it back to something tangible, and I could see the why and why this matters and how we make decisions, and what it means for the health of our company, and what it means for the people that we get to work with and the projects we get to bid on, it just means so much. So it's not just numbers. It's like the whole story that it tells for our company. So the good story, and sometimes not a great story, but it's the truth that it is, and you have to accept that and move forward. So, yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here and for opening up and sharing your story.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This is cool.
And thank you for listening to this week's BizCast. You can listen, like, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Please leave us a review and let us know if you have ideas for a future podcast. And for more episodes, head on over to CBIA.com.